Hello, I'm Miss Sumita, back with new video for your students. Like the simple past, the present perfect tense can be used to describe a past event, state or habit to the present time, whereas the simple past tense talks about past event which is completed. The present perfect tense is therefore described as past time relative to present time and past with current relevance or past involving the present. Present perfect tense is an important part of English grammar since it demonstrates that actions or events in the past have an effect on the present situation. This tense is used to show a link between the present and past and is commonly used in everyday conversations to sound more natural in the news, on the radio, and when writing letters. In this lesson, you will learn the difference between the present perfect tense and simple past tense. Often, people get confused when to use the present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is used to speak about an action is completed in the past. Completed in the present time period and cannot be used to speak about an action that has no specified time. In this tense, the main verb is in the past participle form. We need an auxiliary verb which is going to help the main verb to function. In this tense, the verbs has or have is always the auxiliary verb. When we are talking about a time period that has finished, in this case, we can use simple past tense. But when you are talking about a time period that is unfinished, like today, this week, this month, this year, here we use present perfect tense because the word this relates the present situation. When we are talking about a time period that has finished, there we need to use simple past tense like yesterday, last week, last month, last year. These are the examples of finished time. Now the question is, when should we use present perfect tense? Well, when there is a connection between the present and the past. Assume that it is like a bridge that is connecting the present and the past. When something started in the past and continues in the present, in that situation, we need to use present perfect tense. For example, number 1, she has read many books and she will probably read more. Another example, number 2, my sister has written many books, which means she writes many books, come under present perfect tense. But when we say William Shakespeare wrote many books, which means he does not work now because work is completed. Let's compare some examples here, children. Number 1, we use present perfect tense for a state which has gone up to the present. For example, she has been in the hospital for 3 days, which means she is still in the hospital. But when we use simple past for a state in the past in a period which is finished. For example, I was in the hospital for 2 days, which means she is no more in the hospital now. Let's see the number 2 example here. We use the present perfect tense with today, this month, this morning, this week, this month, When these periods are not finished at the time of speaking, there we need to use present perfect tense. For example, Rina has written 3 letters this morning, which means it is still morning. When we use simple past tense with today, this morning, this week, etc., when these periods are finished at the time of speaking, in that situation, we need to use simple past tense. For example, she wrote 3 letters this morning, which means morning is over. Now, let's move on to example number 3. We use present perfect tense when we want to talk about unfinished actions or states or habits that started in the past and continues to the present. Number 4, we use for with a period of time, like for 2 days, for 1 hour, for a long time, extending up to the present. For example, I have known Anita for 10 years. On the other hand, for is used with the simple past tense, denotes a finished period of time. For example, I lived in the hospital for 2 days, which means I do not live there now. We use since with point in time, which means from that point to the time of speaking. It is always used with the present perfect tense. For example, I have known Anita since 1999. Now let's move on to example number 5. We use present perfect tense with an unfinished time word such as today, this week, this month. Here, the period of time is still continuing. For example, I haven't seen Amita this month. Next one, she has drank 3 cups of milk today. Number 6. In this tense, we use both been and gone as the present perfect of go, but in slightly different circumstances. We use been, that is B-E-E-N, been, often when we talk about life experience to mean that the person we are talking about visited a place and came back. For example, I have been to Kerala, which means in my life, but now I am in Odisha, where I live. Number 2, she has been to school today, but now she is back at home. In this case, we need to use been. Now, let's see the usage of gone, G-O-N-E, gone. We use gone often when we are talking about an action with a result in the present to mean that the person went to the place and is at the place right now. For example, Ruchi has gone to the shop, which means she is at the shop now. Number 7, we can use the present perfect tense with unspecific expression such as ever, never, once, many times, several times, before, so far, already, and yet. For example, I think I have met him once before. Now let's move on to example number 8. The present perfect tense is also used when something just happened, like one example here, they have just gone home, which means they left a short time earlier. Another example, I have just cut my finger. What do you notice in these 2 examples? Here we notice that the word just we use a lot with present perfect tense. Now let's move on to example number 9. We use present perfect tense to talk about our experiences when we are talking about something we have or have not done in our lives. For example, number 1, I have been to 6 countries. Another important point is to be noted here is that when you talk about a specific time in the past that has already finished, in that case, we should not say, I have studied this lesson yesterday. Rather, need to use simple past and say, I studied yesterday. Another example here, it has arrived on 5th May. This is wrong, but we should say, it arrived on 5th May. Now, dear children, let's discuss the structure of this tense. Main verb here is past participle, or we call it V3 form of the verb. Auxiliary verbs are has or have. Please note, if the subject of the sentence is he, she, it, or a singular noun, then the auxiliary verb has is used. If the subject of the sentence is I, they, you, or plural noun, then the auxiliary verb have is used. I repeat this. If the subject of the sentence is he, she, it, or a singular noun, then the auxiliary verb has is used. If the subject of the sentence is I, you, they, or plural noun, then the auxiliary verb have is used. For example, I have written a letter. Another example, he has done his homework. Now, how to frame positive sentence? Let's discuss. Positive sentence is a combination of subject plus auxiliary verb plus main verb plus object, or subject plus has or have, okay, as an auxiliary plus past participle or V3 form of verb plus an object. For example, Raja has written all the projects. Another one, I have bought a new laptop. Next one, you have received my letter. Let's discuss how to frame negative sentences. Or you can say it, structure of negative sentence is subject plus has or have plus not plus past participle form of the verb plus object. For example, Smita has not brought her notebook to school. Another example here, they have not gone home. Now, structure of interrogative sentence is auxiliary verb plus subject plus main verb or past participle plus object, or has or have plus subject plus V3 plus object. For example, have you prepared yourself for the upcoming examination? Another example, has he bought a new mobile? Okay, having said this, let's recall the main points. Understand the correct way to form the present perfect tense that we have discussed in this topic. Second one, see how you can talk about life experiences with the present perfect tense. Third one, talk about unfinished time with present perfect tense and also unfinished actions and states. Next point, how can we use the present perfect tense to describe past actions with present consequences. These are the main points of this present perfect tense that we have come across or we have discussed. That's all for today. Thank you.